Hello, I'm Connor Zipfel, and this is my leadership project presentation. I'm a new hire within a contracting company serving the Department of Defense, and my new role encompasses this leadership project, which was to lead the structural design of one of my company's salient projects for the United States government. The effort required cross-functional team leadership as it required communication with members of a design feasibility team and those of other engineering disciplines to ensure their program requirements did not interfere with my structural criteria as required by the program. The effort also required close communication with suppliers as well as partnering with manufacturers to reduce machining costs. The commitment included developing a project plan, formerly known as a structural analysis plan, and was completed with a presentation verifying the structural adequacy of the proposed design and illustrating its feasibility in light of the requirements of other engineering disciplines. The entire project is very large and its scope extends beyond this course. However, for the purposes of this leadership project, I led the project phase that handled the development of the structural analysis plan and the design verification presentation. Since this project is assigned by my employer, I have ensured that this documentation does not include any company proprietary information. The course materials state that crafting a vivid, desirable, compelling, realistic, focused, flexible, and communicable statement describing what it would be like to achieve our desired success is necessary to make these successes become reality. Within the context of my leadership project, the vision in which I set goals is as follows. It is 6 weeks into the future, and my company is commending me for having demonstrated the structural adequacy of a design project for the U.S. Navy. Note that to be deemed adequate, the structural design must not interfere with any other disciplines. I duly feel a strong sense of accomplishment from the status of the design, which is now allowed to proceed to the build phase. Given that my vision requires the design to demonstrate feasibility from operational, structural, and budgetary standpoints, it will require cross-departmental teamwork and collaboration to ensure disciplines do not clash. Therefore, realizing my vision would not be possible without goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Thus, I set the following outcome-based SMART goals. First, my structural analysis plan for this project has been completed and accepted within 1 week of the project initiation date. And second, all design relevant strength, fatigue, and program office criteria are met by the formal design review date, which is 5 weeks after the acceptance of the SAP. Accomplishing SMART goal number 1, which states, my structural analysis plan for this project has been completed and accepted within 1 week of the project initiation date, requires the following objective. All of my proposed structural analysis methodologies are in accordance with industry standards and work to ensure all project-specific administrative requirements are met. To meet this objective, 4 action steps are required. First, I must review the company's structural analysis guidelines document to become familiar with the nature of the structural analysis to perform for the project. Second, I must also review the structural considerations list to review lessons learned from prior projects so as to reduce the likelihood of making these same mistakes within my analysis. Third, I must define the structural criteria such as strength, random vibration and fatigue, and thermal against which the adequacy of the structural design will be assessed. I know from experience that all structural analysis plans that meet the above criteria are accepted by the program office. Therefore, the final action step for this objective simply is to complete and submit the SAP. Accomplishing SMART goal number 2, which states, all design relevant strength, fatigue, and program office criteria are met by the formal design review date, which is 5 weeks after the acceptance of the SAP, requires the following objectives. Objective number 1, all of my structural analysis methodologies and conclusions are accepted by the informal concept design review date, which is 4 weeks after the acceptance of the SAP. The objective necessitates 3 action steps. First, I must create a list of analysis sources to ensure their transparency. Second, I must employ a democratic leadership style in discussing analysis sources with chief engineers to foster feelings of trust for the design and screen it against thoughts, from key stakeholders. Third, I must employ a democratic leadership style in collaboration with the design feasibility team to ensure disciplines do not clash. Objective number 2, the design is constructible within the confines of the budget set by the program office. This objective requires 2 action steps. First, I must attend cost negotiation training at work and review Goldman's Leadership That Gets Results to refresh on how to influence with authority. Second, I must employ an authoritative leadership style while working with the design feasibility team to influence suppliers and manufacturers to decrease materials and construction costs, respectively. Given that my preferred leadership style is affiliative, I'm aware that employing a democratic and authoritative leadership style is not inherently a strength of mine, so it is an action step within each of these objectives to acquire feedback from my supervisor regarding what worked and what didn't as I use these relatively unfamiliar leadership styles. I have learned a lot over the past 6 weeks of working on this project, beginning with the acceptance of my structural analysis plan by the program office 1 week after the start of the project. I had conducted extensive cross-departmental collaboration with the design feasibility team. This interaction consisted of me influencing design team members to make design changes which ensured the eradication of all structural features posing any sort of strength, fatigue, or thermal risk. It also spurred questions from the design team regarding my analysis methodology, as well as whether certain design team requested design changes would pose structural risks. Thankfully, I had thoroughly documented my structural analysis methodology, which allowed me to either defend it or gain constructive criticism to improve it, as well as to prove when certain requested design changes would threaten the fidelity of the structure. This interaction would not have been possible without the use of the democratic leadership style to forge consensus through participation with all stakeholders. Finally, my association with the design team consisted of the influencing of suppliers and manufacturers to regulate or reduce materials and machining costs, respectively, and ensure the design stayed within the confines of its budget. This effort would not have been possible without the use of the authoritative leadership style, which mobilized those involved to understand the merits of my cost reduction efforts by illustrating how important they were in helping to protect the security of the country. I have been very fortunate in that I have achieved all of my SMART goals for this leadership project and have realized my vision by demonstrating the structural adequacy of the design for the U.S. Navy. Given the Monday, March 9th project kickoff date, I was successful in achieving my first SMART goal as my structural analysis plan was accepted on Thursday, March 12th. Furthermore, I was able to accomplish my second SMART goal by meeting all of the design relevant strength, fatigue, and program office criteria by the formal design review on Friday, April 17th. I presented the structural analysis results and budget criteria at this design review meeting, and the chief engineers prescribed a rating of green to the design, meaning it was allowed to proceed to the early stages of the build phase. From here, I will work with the manufacturers to ensure required tolerances and specifications are maintained in production. I achieved my SMART goals by meeting their metrics within the specified time. Specifically, I completed the structural analysis plan within 1 week of the project initiation date, and I ensured all design relevant strength, fatigue, and program office criteria were met by the formal design review date, which was 5 weeks after the acceptance of the SAP. Achieving my SMART goals duly allowed me to realize my vision, which occurred when the design received a rating of green at the design review. It is important to note, however, that my leadership efforts within the context of this project highlighted important areas for improvement pertaining to my conflict management skills and the leveraging of my professional network. These are topics on which the following slides will focus. We learned in this course that leading teams requires relationship management of both yourself with others and others with themselves, as poor relationships amongst others can negatively impact the entire team. Furthermore, teams have predictable needs and tendencies, but have unique needs as they mature, which necessitates that teams be designed so as to balance the expertise and knowledge of their individual members with the ability to coordinate and collaborate effectively, as well as ensure the goals of both the team and its individual members are met. Within the context of my leadership project, this was one of the most important themes from this course because the project taught me that although I am adept at meeting the administrative requirements of projects, I'm lacking in my relationship management skill set because of my conflict avoidance behaviors. I first became aware of these notions when receiving my Clifton Strengths results, which state that 3 of my top 5 strengths, achiever, focus, and discipline, all fall within the executing domain, which suggests that I'm adept at making my ideas reality and overcoming obstacles to get things done. These behaviors became manifest in this project as I was able to keep my project on schedule despite disruptions stemming from COVID 19. Although my company mandated that everyone work from home during this time, which has introduced a myriad of technical issues and threatened communication by necessitating virtual collaboration, I have been able to overcome these challenges by using my discipline to stay focused on achieving my project's SMART goals. It is important to note, however, that things could have gone better for my project. My TKI results indicate that I use the avoiding conflict mode more than 78% of correspondence, which suggests that I prefer to be unassertive and uncooperative in the face of conflict. Although my leadership strengths have allowed me to continually ensure the needs of the team as a whole were met from an administrative standpoint, my leadership challenges prevented me from recognizing and addressing the needs of its individual members, which stymied our progress over time. For example, a few weeks ago, my department hired subcontractors in Singapore to perform design feasibility analysis. Although this allowed nearly continuous work to be done across time zones and brought diverse peoples together from across the globe, it introduced technical communication issues for those working with the Singapore engineers, and my avoiding conflict mode caused me to be oblivious to these issues for 3 weeks, resulting in over-engineered designs and requiring some individuals to have to work significant extra hours to make corrections. Thankfully, receiving these conflict avoidance insights from both the TKI and the course materials in Module 5 means that I was aware of this issue for the last 2 weeks of my leadership project. Thus, in an effort to replace my challenges with strengths, I used my discipline and focus to strive to be more open and foster dialogue. Specifically, I stated my concerns, solicited perspectives from others, and brainstormed solutions when faced with conflicting needs of team members to facilitate a resolution to difficult interactions, win minds through the increasing of stakeholder receptivity, buy-in, and persuasion, and increase influence by fostering dialogue. I also use grounded assessments to foster trust and commitment from others when working to resolve conflict. In doing this, I was able to learn how to enhance all the correspondence with the Singapore engineers with the images, graphics, and annotations needed to overcome the communication barrier and leverage the analytical expertise and novel perspectives offered from the diverse set of project stakeholders to generate a novel design solution. Stemming from the reflection on the previous slide, I learned that leadership effectiveness cannot peak unless leaders work with the individuals within their team to empower them to be adept decision makers when faced with their own specific problems, and to overcome them in a way that benefits the organization as a whole. In other words, leading others in the modern business landscape requires us to be able to influence them without using formal authority, build effective working relationships, and leverage interpersonal differences to achieve business goals. Therefore, it is clear that we derive much of our ability to influence others in directions that align with our vision through the use of our personal and positional power. In addition to continually seeking to improve my ability to manage conflict, this leadership project taught me the importance of continuing to leverage my leadership power, which is derived from my structural and relational professional network. I learned that my network is inherently structural as a result of my positional power, as I'm the final authority who must ultimately sign off on the adequacy of the detailed project drawings created by the design team. This placed me at a key point within the network, which allowed me to leverage the strengths of others because it demanded my constant collaboration with each member of the design team. For example, working with thermal interface designers demonstrated their unique ability to rapidly generate prototypes, which later afforded me the opportunity to act as a talent broker, connecting the smaller network clusters within the design team when I became aware of the electrical designer's need to test a concept with a quick design mockup. The close collaboration also garnered a strong rapport with each designer, which led to the relational aspect of the network. In the same way that the design team members had to consult with me to ensure the structural adequacy of their designs, I had to consult with them to stay current with industry best practices such as creation of highly complex metallic parts with additive manufacturing, as opposed to machining. All of this interaction worked to create the type of collaborative environment necessary to empower the myriad of team members working on the project to overcome their unique problems by ensuring they were all constantly aware of how their efforts fit within the context of the project. That being said, I noticed an opportunity for improvement. Given what we have learned in this course, I know that I could further increase the power from my network by augmenting its behavioral components. Going forward, I plan to do this by continuing to employ the democratic leadership style, which is shown to encourage greater buy-in and stakeholder support and ultimately result in greater synergy as it motivates all involved to put their best efforts into completion of the project. My role in this project required me to perform a substantial amount of work, and at one point I was struggling to complete all the action items, as working to address one would often open up 2 or 3 new ones. So, in addition to mitigating this issue by continually referring back to my SMART goal and appointing a devil's advocate to distinguish wish list items from required items, I will use the synergy of my network and leverage its bolstered behavioral aspects to delegate tasks, so as to increase project efficiency, benefit the budgets, and bolster job performance and organizational commitment, all to provide long-term benefits to my career growth and to my company. In conclusion, this course and leadership project have helped define what leadership means to me. Leadership is serving others by embracing and managing conflict to equip them with the necessary tools and support them with the necessary resources so they are influenced to act in accordance with intended initiatives at the benefit of all involved. Therefore, this project has worked to reinforce one of the most salient themes we learned in this course, that our vision controls our perception, which in turn becomes our reality. If we can change our vision to be one that is accommodating and embracing to all of the possibilities within a given context, we are left with one key takeaway. There's more than one right answer. Although I've been generally successful thus far in my engineering career, this course and leadership project have taught me to change my lens. Given that my fear of interpersonal conflict has occurred in a consistent manner across all of my new professional relationships, I'm making efforts to manage the biases they cause by embracing conflict and create synergy. I'm also continuing to leverage my structural and relational network while strengthening its behavioral components. Finally, we've learned that the personal leadership development requires data gathering and analysis, planning, and implementation. Therefore, I will complement the data gathering and analysis and subsequent plans made to augment my leadership prowess with implementation behaviors that monitors the success of my efforts by taking 10 minutes at the end of each day to assess their effectiveness and ensure they remain relevant in increasing my leadership choices.